Yo, what's good everyone? Today I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite DraftKings plays for tonight's 9-game slate in the NHL. Let's dive right into it. And what I'm going to do here today is give you a high-level overview of my cheat sheet, breaking down a couple of line stacks that I like for tonight, as well as some of my favorite individual plays, but I cannot recommend enough joining my free Discord channel. You can see that mentioned above. We now have over 750 people, and just 50 people have joined within the last 2 weeks. We're talking multiple different sports for DFS, as well as sports betting. If you want to join that, there's a link to do so in the description below, as well as in the pinned comment below. With that being said, let's take a look at the cheat sheet here. We're going to kick it off with a couple of line stacks that I like, and I almost highlighted that first line for the Minnesota Wild as well, which would be Marco Rossi centering Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Zuccarello. I'll absolutely be on them tonight. You can see some Wild players sprinkled throughout the spreadsheet, but ultimately I landed on these two lines here. Starting with that first line for the Detroit Red Wings, we got Larkin centering DeBrincat and Raymond. Now these three got really hot together towards the end of last year, helped Detroit make a playoff push. They fell just a point short of the playoffs, I believe, but the chemistry between these three only got better as this season progressed, and I like the pricing here, especially with DeBrincat and Raymond. Very affordable guys. You're going to see Larkin and Raymond play up on the number one power play. DeBrincat plays down on the second, but these three are going to log big minutes together 5-on-5, and a good matchup here to start their season against the Pittsburgh Penguins, who just got beat up by the New York Rangers last night 6-0. Now they got to travel into Detroit, start their season on back-to-backs. This should be a good spot here for Detroit to get their season started on a good note. And then another line stack that I like here is that first line for the New York Islanders. We got Horvat centering Duclair and Barzal. Now, Horvat and Barzal, another two guys whose chemistry just got better as the season progressed last year. Now you add in a speedy left winger and Anthony Duclair, and I love the correlation we're getting with these three, as it looks like all three are going to start the season on the number one power play, and a good matchup here against the Utah Hockey Club. I do believe this Utah Hockey Club is going to be better than they have been in seasons past, but I also believe they're still going to give up quite a few goals this year. Now folks, before we dive into some of my favorite individual plays here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. It's completely free to do, and the channel is growing by the day, and we want you to be a part of this community. Alright, now diving into some of these individual plays here, we're going to kick it off with the forwards, and the first guy that I got there is Matt Boldy of the Minnesota Wild. Now, I kind of name-dropped the Wild in general already, talked about that first line, but I don't mind that second line with Eriksson Ek, Johansson, and Boldy either. I think we can stack up either one of these top two lines, or maybe we just target the number one power play for Minnesota, because they're in a really good spot here to kick off their season against the Columbus Blue Jackets, another team that's going to give up a lot of goals this year. But Boldy in general is a candidate, in my opinion, to put up 50 goals this year. He's only gotten better with each and every year he's been in the league. Next guy here that I got is Dylan Guenther of the Utah Hockey Club, who looked awesome in the opening debut for the Utah Hockey Club playing against Chicago. 5 shots on net, 9 shot attempts, 2 goals, just a pure natural goal scorer, playing on that second line with Cooley and up on their number one power play. Timo Meier looked really good in their second game as well, was pretty quiet in game 1 against Buffalo, but in game 2 he had 8 shots on net, scored a goal in that game, currently playing up on the first line right now with Jack Hughes, as well as the number one power play. I think this will be a bounce back year for Timo Meier. Now, speaking of an ex-New Jersey Devil here, we got Tyler Toffoli playing in San Jose. Looks like he's going to start the season on the first line with Celebrini, as well as play on the number one power play. Look, this price is just too cheap in my opinion here for another natural shooter and a natural goal scorer. I would play him at this price in any given matchup, and I don't even mind the matchup here against the St. Louis Blues, but overall, really good price here for a guy who should be priced in the mid 5K range. And then wrapping it up there with Pavel Zacha, the Boston Bruins, who will be looking to bounce back after getting beat up in their first game on the road against the Florida Panthers. Zacha was one of the bright spots for the Bruins in the first game, in my opinion. Looked really solid playing on that first line with Lindholm and Pastrnak, scored a goal in that game, and he's getting time on the number one power play. So again, a lot of value here at the price of $4,500. Now, moving on to the defensemen here, and we're going to stay on the Boston Bruin train here for just a minute, talking about Charlie McAvoy. I think we could probably just target that number one power play for the Bruins tonight, again in a good spot against the Montreal Canadiens. I know that they shut out the Toronto Maple Leafs last night, but the Maple Leafs had 35 plus shots on net. Again, Bruins will be looking to bounce back after losing their first game, and McAvoy, a very well-rounded defenseman, plays big minutes, isn't afraid to shoot the puck, isn't afraid to block shots, and scored a goal in his first game as well. Brock Faber talked about about the Minnesota Wild quite a bit already. We can stack him up with any one of those top 2 lines that I mentioned earlier, or target him on that number 1 power play. Same thing here with Justin Falk. He's still too cheap for a guy who's going to play 20 plus minutes, play up on the number 1 power play, and a really good matchup against the San Jose Sharks. And then if we wanted to stick in that game and save some money, we could go with Philip Broberg of the St. Louis Blues, who looked pretty damn good in his first game as a Blue, playing against the Seattle Kraken. Played 20 plus minutes in that game, got time on the number 2 power play, scored a goal, and blocked 2 shots as well. And then I got a couple of goaltenders there for you. Now, the first couple of weeks of the NHL season are always chaotic, especially with the goalies here, but I'm going to go with the same theory as I went with Igor Shesterkin yesterday when it comes to Jeremy Swayman, and that's you just got paid a lot of money. Now, I know Igor Shesterkin turned down his contract, but boy, did he prove that he's worth every penny last night. But Jeremy Swayman here finally signed the contract. He's getting paid over $8 million here, one of the highest paid goaltenders in NHL history. It is very expensive to roster him, but again, I think the Bruins bounce back here tonight and beat the Montreal Canadiens. And then Ville Husso here of the Detroit Red Wings. I'm kind of just going off of the theory that Pittsburgh did not look good last night against the Rangers. They're an older team who has to start the season on back-to-back nights, and Husso won that job in preseason over Talbot and over Lions. So, considering the price, I don't mind him either, but there's also some solid goaltenders for tournaments in the low 7K range. So again, another reason to join the Discord, because we'll be talking about that here today. And as always, going to wrap up this spreadsheet here with 3 low-priced options or sub 4K forward plays. The first one that I got there is William Eklund of the San Jose Sharks. He is another guy who really just started to figure it out towards the end of last year. I know it's a brand new year here, but a young kid with a lot of offensive upside who will play on that first line tonight. And it looks like he's going to get time on the number 1 power play as well. So a solid price there at $3,600 for a guy who's getting a lot of opportunity. Same thing here with Marco Rossi. It looks like he's going to start the season on that first line with Kaprizov and Zuccarello and get time on the number 2 power play. Very affordable there with a lot of opportunity. And then JT Compher, one of my favorite opportunity plays here. He's going to center that second line with Tarasenko and Patrick Kane tonight, but it looks like he's going to start the season on the number 1 power play for the Detroit Red Wings. Again, another thing that we could target in general on this 9-game slate. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great day here, folks, and let's win some money on this 9-game NHL slate.